friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So today I have some creepy kid and creepy doll book recommendations for you. So I have 5 book recommendations, and if you've been around here for a little while, you'll know that creepy kids and creepy dolls is one of my favorite subgenres of horror. Whether it's adult or middle grade or YA, I just love anything to do with creepy dolls. And let me tell you, I definitely had some creepy dolls in my collection when I was growing up, and they absolutely terrified me. So we're gonna jump right into the list, and I hope you guys find something to pick up, possibly for spooky season, that has to do with creepy kids and creepy dolls. So the first on the list, and if you've been around here for a while, you've heard me talk 100 times on this channel about this book series, and that's Frozen Charlotte and Charlotte Says by Alex Bell. So this is part of the Red Eye series, and I have to say that the entire Red Eye series, or the ones that I've read anyway, are fantastic. If you can pick up this series, I would highly recommend it, because these are YA books, but they don't hold back on the creep factor or on the gore. So people often say to me, you know, like, I'm really glad that you enjoy YA horror because, you know, I'm too old or it doesn't really appeal to me. But if you want to read a book, a YA book that does have sort of an adult level of creepiness and horror, these are definitely the ones that I will always 100% recommend. So if you don't know anything about this series, this is about a young girl who goes through something tragic, and she goes to stay with her uncle on the very remote Isle of Skye. And it's the perfect setting for this story. It's always foggy, it's always dark. They're right on like a cliffside above the ocean, and it's just the perfect atmosphere for this story. And there's these dolls called the Frozen Charlotte dolls that are based on the folklore tale, and the dolls can get up to some mischief, I have to say, and they are very creepy. They're maniacal, and they do some pretty gruesome stuff. So the first book, Frozen Charlotte, is about that story, and the house that this girl goes to live with her uncle and his kids is actually an old boarding school for girls. So Charlotte Says kind of fleshes out the story of what was going on in that school before this family moved in, and the Frozen Charlotte dolls play a role in that as well. And I have to say, this is probably the only series or duology that I liked the second or the prequel just as much as I liked the original story. And that doesn't happen very much, where you have, you know, a sequel or prequel, whether it's movies or books, that both of them are on equal ground. And I will talk about these books until the day I die, because they're so fantastic. So anybody on here who said, you know, I really do have to pick those up, these are perfect for the upcoming spooky season, but really any time of the year, and they're definitely 2 of my favorite books of all time. And next up on the list, we have another almost favorite book of all time, that is Baby Teeth by Zoje. And this is one of the first books that I read when I started getting into booktube and started getting out of my decades-long reading slump, which I've spoken about before on here. And this book just skyrocketed me further into my love of creepy kids and creepy dolls. So unlike Frozen Charlotte, which has to do with dolls, this one has to do with a little girl named Hannah. And you're not sure if she's brilliant and bratty or if she's actually demonically possessed, and she gets up to some crazy stuff, and she is just putting her parents through the ringer. And basically she's a daddy's girl, and her mom is really feeling very isolated because Hannah and the dad are very close, and the dad doesn't really believe that the mom, when she's saying, like, you know, she's an evil child and she's a brat and she's all up to all of this stuff. And just the layers of this story, the creepiness of this story, it literally gave me chills in particular spots. And this is one book that I would love to see a sequel for, because I would really love to know where the story goes next. And next up on the list is Kill the Babysitter by Stephanie Sparks. And I'm going to be doing an upcoming videos like completely on Stephanie Sparks because this author is so underappreciated, I think. She is on my all-time favorite authors list. I loved this book. I have loved all of the books that she's written. I've given them a lot of them 5 stars, if not 4 stars, and this one specifically just really does the creepy kid very, very well. So here you're following a babysitter basically, and she only gets into babysitting because she wants to afford a new car. She really doesn't know anything about babysitting. She really doesn't know anything about kids, but she lies to the mother basically saying she has all of this experience. So she the mother hires her on to watch the kids, and she gives her a list of rules. And one of the rules is don't let the kids play with the Ouija board. So we've got creepy kids, we've got a babysitter, she doesn't know what she's doing, and we got a Ouija board in there. And so all hell breaks loose because the kids are just being little hellions, and she gives in and gives them the Ouija board. And this story is so fast-paced, it's crazy. I was super surprised at the end. So it just has all of the elements that tick the boxes for me as a horror reader, and it's super, super short. I believe it might be 150 to 175 pages. Stephanie Sparks books are usually very short, and they have lots of twists and turns. They're fast-paced, and usually they have some sort of element that you're like, what the heck just happened? So this was definitely a 5-star read for me. It's a 5-star author for me, and like I said, it ticks all the boxes if you're looking for a creepy kid story. Next up on the list is House of Small Shadows by Adam Neville. And if you go back in my videos last year, I actually did a creepy doll vlog, reading vlog, and I read this book and I did enjoy it. I think it was a 3 to 3.5 star read. It wasn't my favorite book by Adam Neville, but it definitely did have all of the spooky atmosphere that I was looking for. So basically we're following this, she's like an antiques dealer, and her boss sends her up to this very spooky house to take inventory and kind of put a value on this collection of dolls and figurines and puppets that belong to this really famous puppeteer. And his daughter, who is now elderly herself, is kind of overseeing the collection, and she owns the house. So you have a spooky house, like a huge spooky mansion, creepy old lady. The old lady's kind of housekeeper, I believe she is. She's kind of creepy too. And then you have all of these puppets and figurines and everything that she's trying to put a value on, but spooky things are starting to happen, and just it's very, very creepy. So if you're looking for an atmospheric book, Adam Neville writes atmosphere very, very well. One of my favorite books is No One Gets Out Alive by him, and he always does such a fantastic job. So if you're looking for a creepy doll story that has just pure atmosphere, definitely give this one a try. And the last book on the list, this is kind of a weird addition, and I was gonna put it in one of my other videos, but I decided not to, and that's Take Your Turn Teddy by Haley Newlin. And this is another author I think is very, very underappreciated. This book is very underappreciated. I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about this book, so when I do hear that somebody has read this, it always makes me very excited. I remember, I think I read this about 2 summers ago. She had sent me an ARC for review, and it's just so good. So like I said, this one's kind of a little bit of a weird sort of addition because it's not entirely a creepy kid book, but it does have to do with a little boy who basically befriends a shadow. So we're following this mother and son who escape a very abusive father, and they manage to get out basically with the clothes on their back and their lives. And so they get to a house that belongs to the mother's family, and she just wants to start over. She's painting and cleaning and all of this kind of stuff, trying to turn over a new leaf as a single parent. And the little boy Teddy befriends basically a shadow that's living in the house, and it's very, very creepy. So the child himself is not entirely creepy, but the situation is very, very creepy. So that's one part of the story. And then the other part of the story, we're following a police officer who has seen some pretty tragic things during his experiences, and he's actually suffering from PTSD, and he has seen horrific situations that's happened with children, and the whole story is creepy. The whole story is heart-wrenching and difficult and emotional. So I was actually going to put this book in as part of my emotional horror, but I saved it for this list instead because it's kind of like one of those crossover books. So it's very deep, it's very emotional, it has a lot going on, it's super creepy, and like I said, there's creepy situations going on with these children. So I can't recommend this book enough. I have to say, I think every book on this list, 4 out of the 5 books on this list are 5-star reads, and the other one is super creepy and definitely a favorite author of mine. So all of these I would highly recommend picking up if you do enjoy the creepy kid and creepy doll subgenre in literature. And again, with Frozen Charlotte, if you think that you're not gonna like a YA horror, this one definitely has the creep factor, it definitely has the gore. So if I was going to recommend one YA horror to everyone, it would definitely be that duology. So there you guys go. There's some spooky reading recommendations for the upcoming spooky season. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up, leave me a question or comment down below because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky everybody. Bye.